This is a two-part series of my video blog related to school finance. I personally feel that these two video blogs are the most important video blogs that I will share with you this year. Please encourage anyone you know that is interested in McKinney ISD to watch these blogs. The topic of school finance is one that can easily create confusion and frustration in the public, and even for the most seasoned school finance expert, administrator, or legislator. The fact of the matter is that the way in which the state of Texas funds our public schools is both complicated and ever-changing. For the purpose of this McKinney ISD update, we can't possibly explain all of the intricacies and implications of the decisions made by our legislators in Austin. However, we are going to attempt to provide a very candid and straightforward explanation of the financial state of our school district and the impact that recent cuts in state funding have had on McKinney ISD during the past several years. We'll devote this video blog to reviewing education funding at the state level for Texas Public Schools, and then next week we'll focus on how these funding changes have impacted us locally, right here in McKinney. To begin, when looking at funding of Texas schools, it behooves us to take a quick glance at how a typical school district in Texas uses these funds. When you consider what it takes to educate a single student, one can easily forget all the things that go into making sure every student is safely transported to and from school, fed a nutritious meal, and provided the resources to support their education and provided opportunities to become engaged and well-rounded students through extracurricular activities. Let's take a moment to review where our dollar goes in Texas Public Schools.
Where does a dollar go in Texas Public Schools? The typical student begins the day with a bus ride to school and then home again at the end of the day. 3 cents. Students arrive to a building that is clean and well maintained. 9 cents. The building is heated, cooled, and well lit. 3 cents. Students are made safer through a district-supported security staff and, if injured, cared for by the school nurse. 2 cents. In every classroom, there is a teacher ready to begin the lessons for the day. 49 cents. In class, students have access to an instructional aide who supports the teacher with district-purchased instructional materials. 9 cents. The teacher has been trained in Texas learning standards and uses curriculum that meets the state standards and builds on information students learned the previous year. 3 cents. Lunch. 5 cents. After lunch, students take a trip to the library to check out a favorite book or find information for an assignment. 2 cents. The counselor's office is always open to give advice on going to college. 4 cents. Every school has a principal and assistant principals, as well as helpful front office secretaries. 5 cents. Students also benefit from the fact that district-level employees make sure teachers receive their paychecks on time, employees have health insurance, buildings are insured, quality teachers are hired, and the business matters of the district are handled in a professional manner. 3 cents. And finally, all students have access to a variety of extracurricular activities, including fine arts, athletics, and academic programs. 3 cents. And that's where a dollar goes in your Texas Public Schools.
Now that we've reviewed where a dollar goes, let's take a moment to review how the state of Texas funds the education of a student. As you can see by this chart, a school district receives funding from 3 different sources: federal dollars, state funding, and local taxpayers. In 2009, we received federal stimulus dollars, and that funding source ended in 2011. One of the most significant changes that you will notice came as a result of a legislative tax reform plan in 2006, commonly referred to as a tax swap, and the goal being to cut property taxes without costing the state any money. This tax swap was intended to reduce the burden on taxpayers and was to be replaced by new state business taxes. The problem, however, is that while property taxes were cut by $14 billion annually, The new business taxes in Texas only raised about $9 billion a year in new money. That's a $5 billion gap. That difference meant one thing for public schools. Funding was going to be cut significantly. If you look at Texas education spending per student in 2002, Texas spent around $7,787 per student per year. Adjusted for inflation, this year Texas schools will only spend about $6,467 per student, or more than $1,300 less per student than 10 years ago. More alarming, look at the growth in student population in Texas schools. We're educating more students, expecting more out of our students than ever before, and we're faced with declining financial support for our classrooms. Some legislators have even gone as far as to claim that we've actually increased education spending by as much as 47% in the past 10 years. That may be true, but only if you rely on smoke and mirrors. The fact of the matter is that if you were to adjust for inflation, that number is about 25%. But we can't stop there. Remember, we told you about the inability of the business taxes to make up the difference. If you consider the tax swap, school districts are actually receiving 13% fewer dollars now than they were in 2002. Texas now ranks 49th in a ranking of the 50 states and District of Columbia on spending per student. That's not a number we should be proud of. The purpose of sharing this information is not to whine, but rather to shed light on the importance of adequately funding our schools and our students. We expect our children to be competitive in a highly global society, and the only way to accomplish this is to hire and support the highest quality teachers we can and provide them with resources to successfully prepare our students. Next week, we'll look at the funding issue at a local level and talk specifically about how your students are being affected in McKinney ISD. We know great things are happening in classrooms all across McKinney, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be diligent in our effort to provide the best education possible for our students. This community has a long-standing tradition of supporting public education, and we want you to know how much we appreciate that support. Thanks for taking the time to join us today and listening to me, and make it a great week.